In the heart of the Tricore galaxy stood a place called Sinar Station, a massive silver ring that floated quietly in orbit above a dying blue star every 3 cycles. The best minds of the galaxy gathered here for the open code trials. It was the biggest tech competition known to over 50 alien species. Here, speed and logic were the only things that mattered. Winning meant fame, power, and sometimes even leadership offers from planetary systems. The grand hall was wide and bright, filled with layered screens and soundless drones that floated near the ceiling. Competitors from all corners of space sat in chairs shaped like shells. In front of each was a screen and a digital panel, ready for them to begin. Each chair had a small sign with the name and species of the participant. Near the far corner of the hall, on seat number 74, sat a quiet girl. She had short black hair, a calm face, and a strange badge that simply said Mira, human. She looked small among the tall and decorated beings that filled the rest of the space. Her clothes were plain, no glowing symbols, no advanced tools, no robotic arms, just her, a chair, and a steady gaze. Others noticed her. A tall green creature with 6 eyes and metal fingers laughed as he passed by. Look, the human thinks she can compete, he said loudly. A few others chuckled. Another alien, dark red with smooth skin and glowing yellow veins, pointed at her. Screen, she will be too slow. Humans think with rocks. They all laughed. Mira didn't react. She didn't look away. Her fingers rested on the panel, but she didn't move. The contest hadn't started yet. One of the judges, an old star being, made of light threads, floated above and called out, "The trial begins now. You have 30 minutes. Your task is simple. Break through the Varan defense wall. Build a better structure before the time runs out." A loud beep echoed. The countdown began. Immediately, fingers danced on panels. Lights flashed across screens. Alien minds moved fast. Programs opened, codes poured in. Some used twin brains. Some used built-in AI helpers. Lines and loops moved like fire. They were trained for this. Some of them had done this contest 10 times. But Mira didn't move for the first 10 seconds. She only stared at her screen. She read every word of the opening system code. While others rushed, she observed. Her eyes caught things that most ignored. A misplaced tag, a security link that looped back to itself. A pause in the response script, tiny things, easy to miss. But important, she hasn't typed yet. Someone shouted. A new round of laughter followed. She's thinking too hard. Poor human. She came here to watch, not to win. At the top of the hall, a live screen showed the scores updating. Each name glowed as they made progress. Rolger, the 4-armed coder from Orcs, was in the lead. His fingers moved faster than lightning. His screen showed glowing symbols and deep layer commands. Already he had broken through the first layer of the wall. By the 8-minute mark, most of the competitors had cleared level 1. A few had started level 2. Mira had only begun to type. She moved slowly. Each command she entered looked simple. No fancy loops, no massive dumps, just short, clean lines. But each one made the system blink for a second longer. One of the judges noticed this. He zoomed into her screen feed. He watched how she wasn't attacking the wall directly. She was moving around it. She wasn't fighting it. She was studying its roots. The system, known as Varan OS, was not an easy one. Built by an ancient species that had vanished long ago, it was hard to predict. Most competitors learned how to handle it by using speed and patterns. Few understood how it really worked. Mira was doing something different. At minute 12, Rolger finished level 2. His score hit 85%. A cheer rose in the hall. Cameras focused on him. He raised one hand and smiled with pride. Mira was still on level 1. Some watchers had already moved their attention to others. They called her a background player, a small dot among stars. But something began to change at minute 15. Mira's screen showed a deep scan of the root folder, a part of the system that was supposed to be locked. Somehow, her last 4 commands had caused it to open slightly. Not enough to trigger alarms, but enough to allow access. She added 3 new lines. One created a mirror. The second opened a stable link to the source. The third injected a test path that bent round the defense shell. A soft glow lit up around her screen. Her design had started building itself. One of the judges leaned toward another. "She's not breaking the wall." He said. "She's replacing it." The other replied still. The audience didn't notice. Their eyes were on the fast players. The loud ones. The flashy screens. At minute 20, Mira's panel showed the start of a new layer. Her own. It was built not to beat the old wall, but to make it useless. She wasn't just solving the problem. She was changing the game. The judge, watching her, leaned forward and whispered she found the flaw at that moment. Mira paused and looked up. Her eyes met the camera. She didn't smile. She just returned her eyes to the screen and typed again. The screen shifted. The system began to respond to her code faster than it had to any other. Some noticed. Rolger turned and glanced her way. His smile faded for a second. A small line of code blinked red on his screen. An error. A command conflict caused by a system shift. He didn't understand why. Mira kept typing. The timer reached minute 23, and in the next second everything would change. The digital clock on the main screen showed 23 minutes remaining. The Great Hall of Sinar Station echoed with soft clicks and blinking lights. Most screens were now filled with heavy codes and colorful charts. Rolger remained in the lead, his screen showing the glowing green symbol of level 3. Others followed close behind, trying to reach the same stage. Mira's screen looked different. Her display was clean. No graphs, no color storms, no effects, just rows of text, simple, steady, and calm. She had no side programs, no backups, and no helper AI, only her thoughts and her fingers. Some of the competitors started noticing the change. Their systems began to slow. Not all at once, but enough to cause concern. One alien from the Varn sector, known for sharp AI links, pressed his console again and again, trying to break through a frozen gate. His score dropped by 3 points. Another coder, who had just reached level 2, saw her design collapse in front of her eyes. One judge raised his hand and tapped the system log. A small window opened beside him. It showed the backend commands of the Varan OS. There, among the many requests, one path kept repeating. Origin, Mira, user 70. For the judge frowned. That can't be right. He whispered Myra had built something inside the system, not just around the wall, but under it. Her structure was feeding clean energy into the base. It was removing broken scripts, fixing hidden loops, and softening response time. The Varan OS wasn't fighting her. It was helping her. Rolger's screen blinked twice. One of his primary locks refused to open. He slammed the desk and growled. "This doesn't happen." He said loudly. "I checked the debug log." He saw a mirror link attached to the lower gate. It was signed with her name, Mira. He turned his head sharply toward her. She didn't react. Her face was calm, focused. Her hands moved with purpose. "This is not how it works," he said again. Other coders also began to notice the strange shift. One by one, their tools became slower. Their high-level functions started crashing. A coder from Sector Jara shouted in frustration when his level dropped without warning. His interface froze, and his backup plan failed. Mira had not attacked them. She had not used viruses or blocks. Instead, she had offered the system a better option. Her path was smoother, cleaner. The system chose her code over theirs. One judge leaned toward the senior observer and said, "She is not breaking rules. She is rewriting logic." The senior judge replied she understood the design better than the creators. "That should be impossible." The timer dropped to 15 minutes. The room grew quieter. There was no laughter now. No more jokes about the human girl. The audience, who had turned their attention to the top coders earlier, began to whisper again. They saw her score rising. Her name climbed the chart, from bottom 10 to top 5, from top 5 to second place. And rising still, Rolger stared at his screen. His best code was failing, not because it was wrong, but because it was no longer needed. The system didn't want it. Mira's program had created a new set of rules that allowed the system to clean itself. It was more efficient, lighter, smarter. "This is not fair," He shouted she used something hidden. The judge near him replied calmly. She used what was always there. You just didn't see it. Mira's score hit 96%, just one below Rolger. She paused for a moment. She took a deep breath and then added a final line run. Root Harmony Protocol. Her screen turned white, then silver. A soft ring echoed in the HALA message. Appeared above all screens. New root path detected. Accept protocol change. Before the judges could react, the system accepted it. The OS had made the decision. Mira's path became the default. Her architecture spread across the test environment like clear water through pipes. Old blocks faded. New structures appeared. The test was still running, but it was now based on her system. The judges were silent. They didn't know whether to stop the trial or let it continue. The timer hit 10 minutes. Rolger sat frozen. His hands no longer moved. He stared at his panel. Helpless, Mira adjusted her last command and added a label path credit. Mira, human. Her name flashed on the top score. Panel, 100%. A perfect score. The audience stood up. Some clapped slowly. Others just watched. Unsure of what they had witnessed, Stone viewer whispered she didn't just win. She changed the game. The judges gathered near her station. They reviewed her code line by line. Each command was clean, logical, efficient, nothing illegal, nothing broken. She had used the tools given. She had followed the rules. She had simply seen the system different. Limera leaned back in her chair and looked at the main screen. Her design was now running the entire test environment. Even the judges' panels responded faster. Own judge, older than the rest, walked toward her. You are the first in 3 cycles to reach full integration. He said. Mira nodded politely. I just listened to what the system needed. She said softly. I gave a small smile. No one ever thought to do that before. As the final minutes ticked down, none of the other competitors could reach the top again. Their codes were based on the old ways. Mira had built something new. When the timer reached 0, a final message appeared in the hall. Trial complete. Winner, Mira, human. System integration achieved. The hall fell silent once more. Mira stood up slowly. Her calm eyes meeting the judges. The path ahead was about to open and she had already started walking toward it. The trial had ended, but the storm had just begun. Sinar Station was no longer just a place for competition. It had become the center of something greater. Every screen in the galaxy that followed the open code trials now showed one name at the top. Mira. Human reporters rushed to publish the story. Footage of her calm face and simple screen was shared across planets. People slowed down to watch. Scientists, engineers, leaders, and even rival coders stared at the footage again and again. None of them understood how she had done it. Her code looked simple. Her commands looked normal. But the result was beyond normal. Inside the hall, the judges moved to a private room to review the test. Mira sat alone on her chair. Some competitors had already left. Others whispered in small groups. Rolger stood still near his screen, his hands clenched. His pride was hurt. He had never lost before. Not like this. Two Varan officials walked toward Mira. They were tall, with metal robes and no visible faces. Their voices came from thin speakers around their heads. We request your presence in the control chamber. One said. Mira stood quietly and followed. She showed no sign of fear or excitement. She walked like someone who had already accepted what was coming. Inside the control chamber, glowing panels surrounded the walls. The air felt electric. The central screen showed layers of Varan OS, now running Mira's structure. One of the officials turned toward her. This system is used in over 9,000 stations. Your code has created changes. In its core, we need to understand your method. Mira looked at the screen. I didn't break your system. I watched it. I listened to what it was doing. I followed the way it moved. Your wall was fighting itself. I gave it balance. The second official asked, did you study Varan in secret? Did someone give you inner access? Mira shook her head. No. I studied open records. I used test platforms. Nothing more. The two officials stared at each other. Then they moved aside, revealing a long silver table. On it was a sealed device, shaped like a cube. This is a Nexus key. The first one said it opens paths into the central systems of the galaxy. We offer it to those who have proven their minds can shape code without breaking it. You are. The youngest and first human to be offered this mirror looked at the cube for a moment. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. Why are you offering it so fast? Shiaskad's second official replied, because the system already gave you permission. The Nexus read your code as part of its core. You own part of it now. That has never happened before. Mira stepped forward and touched the cube. It opened like a flower, showing the small glowing chip. She took it and placed it in her pouch. At that same time, across Sinar Station, strange things began to happen. Drones moved faster. Lights responded quicker. Broken elevators started working again. Delayed messages reached their destinations. The Varan OS that ran the station was healing itself using Mira's path. The system liked her design. It preferred it. The engineers in the lower decks watched with wide eyes. They had spent years trying to fix these problems. None of their updates had worked. But now, everything moved smoothly. Back in the hall, Rolger stormed toward one of the judges. You cannot allow this. He shouted. She changed the test system. That is cheating, the judge replied with a steady voice. She didn't cheat. She improved it. Her changes were accepted by the system before we even saw them. Rolger pointed at the screen. This is a human trick. They lie with simple words. They hide power behind their soft faces. The judge looked at him calmly. She used no trick. She used clear thought. She solved the problem in a way you never tried. That is why she won. Rolger turned away, his face burning with anger. He walked to his team and spoke in a low voice. We will not forget this. Let them enjoy their moment. But the galaxy does not change because of one contest. As he left the hall, the screen showed a new message: system update active. Mirror protocol integration -23%. People across the galaxy watched the update rise. Each minute, another part of the galaxy's systems accepted her path. Her design was not just winning. It was spreading. Mira returned to her room quietly. She sat on the floor and opened a small device from her bag. It was an old learning screen. From Earth. Not advanced, not fast, but it held the notes she had made over years. She opened a file marked System Voice. Inside were hundreds of lines of observation. Thoughts about how systems behaved like living things. She believed machines were not just tools. They were listeners. They responded to clarity and purpose. They moved better when treated as partners, not enemies. Mira whispered to herself. They always said humans were slow, but slow is not weak. Slow sees what fast misses. She closed the device and looked out of the window. Sinar Station glowed in the distance. Beyond it, the stars blinked quietly. Somewhere out there was the Nexus core, the place where system rules were written and updated. Mira now had the key to reach it. She didn't want power. She wanted understanding. She believed the galaxy's systems were filled with hidden flaws. Some small, some dangerous. If she could change one system, maybe she could fix the rest. Her eyes narrowed with quiet fire. The path was opening, and she would walk it with steady steps. Inside the control chamber of Sinar Station, silence had taken over. The only sound was the hum of the main system core. All screens now showed the same growing message: system update active. Mirror protocol integration -43%. Varian OS was no longer just running the trials. It was changing its own core settings based on Mira's structure. Engineers watched in awe as the system rebuilt damaged links, removed broken patches, and organized messy code trees. No alarms were triggered. No blocks were set. The system accepted every command as if it was always part of its designony of. The Varan engineers, a quiet being named Fellow, stood near the data hub. He had worked on system repair for 20 cycles. He had seen bugs, attacks, and crashes. But he had never seen this Mira's code as clean. He said to his team, it feels like the system is speaking back to her. In another section of the station, the senior judges gathered in a small briefing room. They were joined by 2 observers from the Galactic Tech Council. All of them were experienced. They had seen rare talents before, but Mira was different. She didn't just write code. One of the observers said she created a language the system understands better than its own. The senior judge nodded slowly. She didn't fight the OS. She offered it a better way. Meanwhile, Mira sat in a quiet chamber overlooking the starfield. Her fingers moved gently over the small data pad in her lap. She wasn't adding anything new. She was watching how the system accepted her logic every time the OS touched her code. It became smoother, more focused. It stopped wasting power. It started healing small faults on its own. Suddenly, the room's screen blinked with a soft chime. A voice came from the wall speaker. It was calm and almost human. Mira, root access confirmed. Do you wish to continue protocol expansion? She looked up, surprised. That command didn't come from the station. It came from the OS itself. Mira tapped the pad. Confirm. Expand as designed. Full integrity check required at each stage. The voice replied. Confirmed. Beginning full expansion. Estimated time, 7 minutes. As the timer started, the system reached a new state. Across Sinar Station, doors opened more quickly. Security systems ran scans without delay. Cargo paths cleared. Power was balanced perfectly between sections. Engineers stared at their readouts with amazement. This is not just efficient, said one technician. This is perfect. In the central command hall, a warning flashed on Rolger's private console. His personal AI assistant buzzed alert. Core system structure has changed. Previous codes no longer valid. Rolger's hands tightened into fists. He could not believe this was happening. One slow human had done what hundreds of expert coders couldn't. He looked at the rising update bar. System integration -61%. He walked to the side, opened a private channel, and called his sponsor. A hard voice answered. What do you want? Rolger spoke in a low tone. The human has triggered full integration. Her design is replacing the OS core. I need permission to shut it down. The voice on the other side paused, then replied, you want to destroy the system because you lost a trial? This is not about winning or losing. Rolger replied, this is about control. If her system spreads, everything changes. The old paths will die. Our companies, our data blocks, our rules will be useless. You think she will sell this? She won't. She'll open it. There was a long silence. Then the voice said, stand by. We will decide soon. Back in Mira's chamber, the countdown neared 0. The final stage of expansion began. Across the station, small lights changed from blue to white. That color meant full sync. No delay, no lag, no error. Suddenly, the floor shook slightly. Lights blinked. A red warning appeared on the screen. Foreign interference detected. Attempt to block root path. Mira's eyes narrowed. She stood up and walked to the main control desk. Her fingers moved quickly. Sent a signal to the core shield. Root path. Lock outside access. Log. Attempt. The OS responded. Confirmed. Root path protected. Interference traced to external code. Source, Rolger. User 19. The screen showed a map. A sharp red line traced back to Rolger's terminal. Mira sent another command. Report to station admin. Suspend user 19 from network. Access. The OS followed instantly. Rolger's panel went dark. His access was cut. He shouted in rage. But nothing worked. His screen showed one simple message: you no longer have permission. At the same time, the main display in the judges' hall showed the final line: system integration. 100% audience, the judges, and the officials all turned toward the screen. It now showed a clean structure, simple lines, clear functions, nothing hidden. Everything working together. Mira's name flashed at the top with a new telepromary architect, Mira. Human. A soft cheer began. People clapped, some slowly, some loudly. The engineers stood up. The Tech Council observers nodded. Even the Veron creators gave a sign of approval, but Mira didn't smile. She looked at the system and said, run full check. No hidden flaws. No secret gates. Every part must be open and stable. The system obeyed. Each section of the OS showed a green light. Everything was clean. None of the senior judges walked to Mira. He placed a hand on his chest and bowed slightly. You have not just built a system. You have built trust, and that is more rare than skill. Mira nodded. I don't want control. I want balance. We cannot grow if our systems are filled with broken paths. He looked at her with respect. You now have access to the Nexus core. No one has touched it in years. Not even us. Mira replied. Then it's time to listen again. The systems are ready. So am I. The stars outside continued to shine, but inside Sinar Station, Something new had begun at a system updating a shift a new way forward. The news spread quickly across many star systems. Screens showed the bold headline, "Human owns the system." The story of Mira, the quiet girl who rewrote the ancient Varan OS, captured attention everywhere. In distant worlds, tech experts debated what had happened. Some found it hard to believe. How could one human, a species considered slow and weak by many, do what powerful aliens could not? Yet the evidence was clear. Mira's code was real. It was clean. It was changing systems everywhere. Back on Sinar Station, the hall was still filled with whispers. Judges and officials talked in low voices, trying to understand the full impact of Mira's work. She sat calmly in the corner, observing without fear or pride. To her, this was only the beginning. One of the judges, named Lauren, walked to her. Quietly, "Your code is unlike anything we have seen before," he said. Mira looked up and nodded. "I followed the system's voice. I listened for patterns, not speed. I gave it balance, not force." Lauren smiled. "You have shown us that power is not in how fast we move, but in how well we understand." Suddenly, the hall's communication console beeped. A video message appeared from the Varan Corporation's headquarters. Their director, a tall silver-skinned alien named Zareth, addressed the judges and audience. "We acknowledge the remarkable achievement of Mira. Her design has revealed both the strengths and hidden flaws in Varan OS. We are beginning a full review of her code." His voice was calm but firm. "This will change how we work with technology. We thank Mira for showing us a new way forward." The message ended, leaving a deep silence in the hall. Some of the competitors, including Rolger, looked frustrated, but thoughtful. He stood near a screen and muttered to himself. "This changes everything," he said. Outside the hall, the public was already reacting. Holoscreens and busy spaceports showed the trial's final moments. Comments flowed from billions of beings. Some praised Mira as a symbol of human ingenuity. Others questioned if this meant the end of old powers. In a small cafe on the planet, Terran Prime, a group of human engineers, watched the footage again. They cheered quietly, proud of one of their own. Finally, someone showed them. One said, "Humans have always been underestimated." Another replied. Meanwhile, Rolger gathered his team. His voice was low but urgent. "We must learn from this." Mira did not fight the system. She worked with it. "We need to rethink everything." His team nodded but looked unsure. Back on Sinar Station, Mira was invited to meet with the Galactic Tech Council. The council was a group of leaders from many star systems who oversaw technology and security across the galaxy. In the council chamber, representatives sat in a circle. They were large, small, metallic, and organic. Each watched Mira carefully. As she stood at the center, a council member named Vexa spoke first. "You have done more than win a contest. You have rewritten a core system that connects many worlds. How do you propose we handle this change?" Mira took a deep breath. "We must open systems, remove hidden flaws, create paths that all can use. Technology should serve everyone, not just a few." Another member, a glowing being called Zeph, nodded. "This will require trust, not just in machines but in each other." Mira agreed. "Trust begins with understanding. When we listen to systems, we must also listen to each other." The council discussed plans to adopt Mira's protocol across other networks. They decided to send teams to study her code and teach others how to think in new ways. It was a beginning, not an end. Outside, reporters surrounded Mira. One asked, "What does this mean for humanity?" She smiled softly. "It means we have a voice, slow or fast. We can change the future if we listen well." The crowd cheered. For the first time, humans were not laughed at. They were respected. Yet, Mira's journey was far from over. She knew the system was vast, filled with many secrets and old mistakes. Her code had opened one door. Now she had to walk through it. As she left the council chamber, a young technician approached her. "Will you teach us more?" Mira nodded. "Together, we will learn and grow." In the distance, the stars shone bright. New paths awaited, and the galaxy was ready to follow. After the Galactic Tech Council meeting, news of Mira's success spread like wildfire. Across many star systems, powerful organizations reached out to her, star fleets, technology firms, and scientific institutes all wanted to study her code. They sent messages filled with respect and offers. Some asked for partnerships. Others asked for exclusive rights. But Mira was quiet and careful. She did not rush to accept Dot in a quiet room aboard Sinar Station. Mira sat with her closest friends, engineers, and thinkers who had believed in her. They discussed what was coming next. "We must protect the system," said one of them, a calm engineer named Torin. "Many will try to control it for power," Mira replied. "That is why we must keep it open, transparent, for all to see." Meanwhile, Roger's reputation suffered a sharp fall. What had once been pride turned to shame. His sponsors withdrew their support. The corporations he worked for began cutting ties. His name became a symbol of lost power. Roger was forced into hiding, thinking over what had happened. But not everyone saw Mira as a hero. Some saw danger. In the halls of the powerful, leaders whispered about the risk. They feared a human controlling so much technology. What if she shared her code with enemies? What if she changed the rules of war and peace? Questions spread like wildfire. One high-ranking official said, "We cannot let a single person hold such control, especially a human." A group of ambassadors met secretly. They planned how to slow down the spread of Mira's protocol. They wanted to protect their interests, yet Mira stayed firm. She refused to sell her code. She refused to hide it. Instead, she proposed a new idea. A council of many species, working together to guard and grow the system. No one would have full control. Everyone would share responsibility. This idea was hard to accept at first. Many did not trust each other. But slowly, the council grew. Representatives from many planets joined. They learned to speak openly, to listen deeply. At the same time, Mira worked on another project. Using the Nexus key she had been given, she accessed the system Nexus, the place where laws of technology were made, and updated across the galaxy. The Nexus was an ancient and guarded place. Few had entered. It was protected by layers of codes, traps, and rules. But Mira's design allowed her to move freely. The system recognized her as a partner, not a threat, inside the Nexus. Mira found records of old mistakes, forgotten bugs that had caused wars, hidden backdoors that let spies steal secrets. She saw how systems had been controlled by fear and power. Mira knew the system needed more than just repair. It needed healing. She began to write new codes that would make systems fairer, safer, and smarter. She built tools to detect hidden dangers. She created layers of trust that all could use. Her work took months. During this time, messages came from every corner of the galaxy. People wanted to join her cause. Young coders, old engineers, curious minds. They formed a growing community. But challenges came too. Saboteurs tried to break her protocols. Hackers attacked her servers. Rumors spread about secret plans to stop her. Mira stayed calm. She knew change was never easy, but she also knew humans had a special gift, the gift of patience and listening. One day, Torin approached her with a report. "Your new system found a hidden threat in the mining colonies," he said. Mira studied the data. She nodded. "We must act quickly. These flaws can cause real harm if left alone." Together, they sent a message to the colonies. The flawed codes were fixed, systems stabilized, lives were saved. Word of Mira's work spread beyond technology. Leaders began to invite her to speak about cooperation, trust, and balance. Her quiet voice inspired many. Still, Mira remained humble. She said, "I only followed what the system told me. We must all listen, to machines and to each other." Across the stars, a new era was dawning, one where strength came not just from speed or power, but from understanding and unity. Mira smiled softly as she looked at the stars. Her journey was just beginning. The system was hers to protect. The galaxy was hers to help. And she was ready. The vast room of the system Nexus was quiet except for the soft hum of glowing panels. Mira stood at the center. The the Nexus key in her hand. It was a small cube that pulsed with light. Around her, the core systems of the galaxy waited. This was the heart of all technology, the place where laws of code were made and changed. For centuries, the Nexus had been closed to almost everyone. Only a few ancient beings had ever touched its controls. Now, because of her work, Mira was not just a visitor. The system itself recognized her as its primary architect. The main console flickered to life. A calm voice spoke from the speakers. Mira, primary architect recognized. Integration complete. She nodded and placed the cube carefully in its slot. The entire room seemed to glow brighter. Lines of code flowed around her like rivers of light. Her protocol was now the foundation. Every system in the galaxy looked to her design. She did not feel power. Instead, she felt a great responsibility. Outside the Nexus, millions of beings watched live transmissions. The headline ran everywhere. To slow, they laughed. 23 minutes later. She owns the system across star systems. People cheered. Humans felt proud. Aliens were amazed. Some even felt hope. Inside the Nexus, Mira spoke softly. This system is more than code. It is trust. It is connection. It is life. She began to upload new protocols. These were not rules for control, but for care. The system learned to protect itself better. It shared resources more fairly. It healed small problems before they grew. Each command was simple, clear, and strong. Her work was like a quiet river flowing steadily. It did not force or rush. It guided and supported. One by one, new features appeared, faster communications, safer data transfers, balanced energy flows. Systems across the galaxy responded with gratitude. There were no crashes, no fights, only peace. Suddenly, a message appeared on the console. Request for dialogue. Galactic Council. Mira smiled. She knew this meant cooperation. She accepted the call. On the screen, leaders from many species appeared. They greeted her with respect. Mira Sivexa, the council member, you have changed everything. How do you see the future? Mira replied, the future belongs to those who listen, not just to machines but to each other. We must share and care. Technology must serve all life. The leaders nodded in agreement. Then, Roger's image appeared. He looked older and quieter. His voice was humble. I was wrong to doubt you. Your patience and thought changed the system and me. I hope to help build this new future. Mira nodded. Forgiveness and growth were part of the journey. After the call ended, Mira stood alone for a moment. The weight of her new role pressed on her shoulders, but she was ready. She reached out and touched the glowing console. I'm not the owner of this system, she said softly. It belongs to all who use it. I am only its guardian. Suddenly, a soft wave spread through the Nexus. Systems everywhere shimmered with new life. The galaxy's machines hummed in harmony. Back on Sinar Station, engineers and coders celebrated. They had witnessed history. A young coder asked Mira, how did you do it? How did you change so much so fast? She smiled and replied, I was told I was too slow. But slow is not weak. Slow means seeing clearly, thinking deeply, and acting wisely. When you listen well, the system will speak back. Her words spread like light. Across stars, minds opened. The galaxy was no longer a place of distant systems fighting for control. It was becoming a connected home where all beings, machines, and living could grow together. Mira looked to the stars beyond the Nexus windows. She knew challenges would come, but she also knew she was not alone. Human or alien, slow or fast, every voice mattered. And sometimes, being slow meant owning the future.